Welcome to the Darkstream, Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and unauthorized.tv. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Tonight we are going to talk about how to always be right. And if you're wondering why we were going to talk about this subject, well, it's probably obvious in light of some of the comments that you've seen on the blog, on this Darkstream channel, etc., etc. And I wasn't really inclined to go off on gammas yet again, except as maybe a jumping off point. Welcome, little homie. It's like, first of all, you can't get of criticism, and some of it's legitimate, a lot of it isn't. You just have to come to terms with the fact that you're always going to see it. And this is something that I've talked with Owen about. This is something I've talked with a lot of other semi-public figures about, everyone from Jonah Goldberg to David Frum to, people that are less well known. And the thing is that you just have to deal with the fact that it's always going to be there. Always. And I'm not complaining. I'm not bothered by it. Remember, I've been dealing with this in some form since 2001. And also, if you've ever read the Praise for Vox Day at the beginning of SJWs Always Lie, you'll see that a lot of these evil superlatives are things that people who intensely dislike me will call me. I didn't, give myself the name the most despised man in science fiction. I never claimed that I rise to the level of pure evil. Maybe it was unmitigated evil. I can't remember. That's just what other people call me. Most of them, people who call good evil and evil good. So I'm happy to not be praised by those people. What's up with the skulls? I collect them. I thought that was pretty well known. What part of Supreme Dark Lord did you not understand? We gave out a shirt. You've seen the front of it. What you haven't seen, and which you will not see, is the back of it. And it has a list of the various organizations that we have confronted, let's put it that way, that we have successfully confronted. And so, anyhow, so how to always be right? First of all, the important thing to understand is that when you're talking about being right, you're dealing with rhetoric. You're not dealing with dialectic. And so always being right is not so much about actually being right so much as the perception of always being right. And this can be from, this can be the perception of people who like and support you, or this can be the perception of people who dislike you, criticize you, ankle bite you, whatever. And it's really interesting to see what people perceive. For example, the, people who dislike you, or in my case, people who dislike me, will often say, he thinks he's always right. He always claims that he's right, etc., etc., etc. And the thing that's funny is that when people claim that, you'll often see the dread ilk be amused by that, because they have seen how often I will tell people immediately, I don't know. I don't know. I don't care. And so forth. And so the perception of always being right is that you don't argue out of ignorance. You don't argue. You don't even state a position if you don't know. And so, for example, this guy yesterday was trying to explain why I shouldn't ban gammas. He thinks incorrectly that he is high IQ, and he clearly doesn't know what a legitimately very high or ultra high IQ is, right? How do we know this? Because he doesn't understand statistics. I made a very simple, basic, easily confirmed point about the statistical realities, and he didn't understand it. And, of course, you had the usual wall of text and multiple. And so when you're faced with this sort of thing, you know that you're not dealing with somebody who is quite as intelligent as he thinks he is. Satanic chair? No, it's not a satanic chair. And skulls around your neck. Have you ever been to a monastery? I've got skulls all over the place. So anyhow, it was rather amusing because this gets to the second point, which is take the time to do your homework. For example, I pointed out that last night we had a maximum of about 850 people or so. And this person was complaining that, or he wanted to know what the other 10 Vox days, by which he meant people of similar. I don't have death around my neck. Skulls. That's all they are. One right there. More here. You can whine about it all you like, but you're not going to do it here. Spearman Melton asks, I've only recently discovered these Revenge of the Sith guys. Are they gammas or beta? They're gammas. They are gammas. Again, it's a pattern of behavior. All you have to do is look at the behavior. You can see what people are. So anyhow, the main thing is do your homework. I gave this guy all the information that he needed to understand what I was talking about. I said, from a statistical perspective, there is not anyone there. There's not anyone who was on the stream last night who is at my intellectual level in terms of IQ. So what do we know about this? That meant that my IQ had to be at least a 1 in 850 level. Right? That's not hard to follow, is it? So all he needed to do was look up the chart. In fact, if you just type it into Google and say IQ rarity. First link, IQ percentile and rarity chart. So let's look up the rarity of 1 in 850. The rarity of 1 in 850, depending on whether you use a 15 standard deviation percentile or 16 standard deviation percentile. I always use 16. I think it's more accurate. It's a little less generous, of course, then, but just for the purpose of illustration, we'll use the 15 first. 1 in 850 is in between 145 and 146 IQ. If we go to the more accurate 16 SD, it's between 148 and 149 IQ. So, statistically speaking, all I was saying was that with 850 people here, if this was a random collection of people, no one would be at my IQ level. None of the viewers. Now that's not the case, right? Why? Because this is not a randomly selected group of people. I would not be in the least bit surprised if there were 10 to 15 people here with IQs higher than 150. Owen's in the stream. We know he's at the 146 level. Statistically speaking, there's only 598 people here, right? So on the basis of statistics, random distribution, that means that there can only be one person with an IQ over 146. Must be Owen. Must be Owen, huh? The point is that I just laid a simple trap for the guy. And it was a good way of confirming, because obviously I was already pretty certain that he was just another gamma midwit, and and there was no point whatsoever in paying any attention to his nonsense, that he was going to exhibit gamma behavior, produce the usual walls of text, etc. Same thing. And so when you look at, this is distracting too many people. I'll take it off. Anyhow, the point is that if you don't bother to do the homework, if you don't bother to pay attention when people give you obvious clues from a statistical perspective, there you go, right? But the average person is not going to do that. Midwits are never going to do that. Why? Because they rush in. And getting back to the point, this is how you leave the perspective, you create the impression that you are always right, because you do the basic homework before you take a position. This is not difficult to do. This is not tough to do. And so, if you don't opine in ignorance, you state clearly that you don't know, or you keep your mouth shut when you don't. And you do the relevant homework, and you pay attention to the clues that people offer you, then you are going to reliably leave an impression that you are always correct. You don't have to actually be always correct to leave that impression, because no one is always correct. It is impossible to always be correct because we see through a glass darkly. You know, very, very smart people were wrong about a number of things because they simply didn't have the right tools. And we are wrong about things today, things that we think we know, things that we believe to be true. They are going to be shown to be false as technology improves, if technology improves. You know, it's really remarkable how little effort most people put into anything and everything. You know, I was talking to someone earlier tonight, and they were, I was actually talking to two people that were relevant to tonight's stream about two different subjects. One of the subjects was they have a tough time with, the problem is that in conversation, they're too focused on themselves. They're too focused on, what kind of impression am I making? How do I entertain? How do I make myself entertaining to this other person? How do I hold their interest? And the thing is that it's not really that difficult. It's not that difficult because all you need to do is focus on the other person. You know, and I gave some examples. Like, for example, everybody has a preferred music. Once they tell you what kind of music they like, if you happen to know about it, you can engage in a back and forth. But if you don't, that's even better, because then you can say, oh, I don't really know much about that type of music. Who are some of your favorite bands? You know, who are some of the better practitioners of urban rave ska? Or, you know, I actually heard a new term tonight. I was talking to a young girl, and first we were talking a little bit about K-pop, which I know virtually nothing about except for I know Hyuna, and I have heard of BTS, and I know that a couple people in the K-pop world killed themselves recently. So we talked about that a little bit, and I mentioned that I actually like J-rock and explained baby metal and Bandmate to them. And then they said that they like a couple C-rock songs. I said, C-rock, does that mean China? They said, yeah. And they didn't know much about it, but they knew a couple of these songs that they really liked that apparently came out of China. And so, you know, it must have been a 15, you know, we were stuck there in a situation. This girl was, you know, in her teens, and we could have sat there in uncomfortable silence. But if you simply just focus on what they're interested in, and then ask intelligent questions and allow the conversation to flow rather than focus on, at no point in time did I ever begin trying to talk about something that interests me. I did mention the J-rock stuff, but that was more just to establish that I did have some interest in Asian music. So this This is just an example. You can do this with anything. No, J-pop is not hip hop. Neither is K-pop, although they do sometimes have, especially K-pop, sometimes has hip hop elements in it. But when you look at no, J-rock is Japanese rock. But again, it's not about the point. Dan says, "Isn't that more common sense though, or would that be emotional IQ?" No, it's not. It's not emotional IQ. There's nothing emotional about it. You don't need to be a sensitive person. I'm not a sensitive person particularly. Um, you simply have to have the ability to not be narcissistically focused on yourself. It's not that difficult. It's really not that difficult. And so, um, this is something you can do. The other conversation that I had was related to a situation that I actually referred to tonight or last night, and there is a um, organization that's fighting its convergence, and it's been really interesting to talk to the people who are beginning to wake up to the fact that fighting is actually the lowest risk approach for them to take. Everybody has tried giving in. And you guys really need to get over your obsession with Jews. It's no wonder they think they're so special because all you guys do is talk about them. I mean, seriously, it astonishes me how utterly fascinated some of you are with them. Just ignore it. Anyhow, the the more that people see how trying to go along to get along and to appease the crocodile in the hopes that you'll be eaten last, the more that they see that strategy fail, and the more they see people who stand up and fight and defend themselves are at worst left alone, and at best, you know, able to actually take back ground, the more people are inspired to do the same. And again, here's the thing: that just joking around, like Static says, it's not amusing. This isn't really the place to do that sort of thing. We don't do banter. I mean, I've talked about this before on the blog. Banter to me tends to look more like a combination of attention seeking and with a slight flavor of homosexual flirtation. It's banter is something that a man and a woman who have some degree of banter is a form of flirtation, and so it's we don't do that here. So, are you the new voice for the Zoomers? No, of course not. The Zoomers don't have there is no voice. There's no leader. That type of thinking is fundamentally off base. The more that you are able to simply stand up for yourself, speak the truth, and encourage others to do the same, the better. But you're not a voice for them. I don't speak for anybody except myself, and to a certain extent, the Dread Ilk and the Evil Legion of Evil. But that's it. I thought you were the leader owner of Comicsgate, though. No, I have nothing to do with Comicsgate. Nothing at all. I never had anything to do with Comicsgate in the first place. That was what was so ironic about it. All I ever did was literally fill out, click a checkbox, and type the word Comicsgate into it. That was it. Jojo Bear says, these are good lessons for me to learn. I'm socially awkward and think asking others about things I don't know could be good. Didn't you try to trademark it, though? No. I never tried to trademark it. I never even tried to copyright it. You know, the Comicsgate people never understood what I was talking about because none of them are professional publishers. I am the leader of Gamergate, of course. I am the leader of Gamergate. That is confirmed. Let's see here. Friends make fun of each other. Yeah, they do. But that's not what, most banter is not between people who even know each other. That is absolutely not true. I am the leader of Gamergate, and so can you. Slapweasel is also the leader of Gamergate. 80 viewership just dropped when the necklace came off. Yeah, that's funny. When will people stop calling things gate? Probably never. Fitbear, Vox, should I be worried if my wife banters with other guys? I wouldn't be worried, but I would not tend to consider that a positive development. What she's doing there is she's looking for attention, and that's usually a bad sign. Is Aaron Rodgers Sigma? Possibly. I mean, he definitely is not a conventional alpha, and a lot of the complaints about him tend to be the type of complaints that are directed at a Sigma. Are you the highest IQ person in the dissident right sphere? I don't believe so. My IQ is quite high, but it's not exceptional. I personally know, more than a few people who have IQs more than a standard deviation higher than mine. And so the chances that some of the other folks are more intelligent is pretty negligible. But that's what's so funny is that, again, if you're just straightforward about that sort of thing, confident in your own capabilities, but not concerned about being the best, being the highest, being the strongest, being the greatest, whatever, people often don't pay any attention to what you've actually said. They just pay attention to the confidence with which you express yourself, and then reach an incorrect conclusion. Welcome, Anthony Sterniolo. Something to point out to all the members is that if you email, I don't get your email addresses from Google. So if you want me to send you direct emailed notifications before the streams, you need to email me with your email addresses and just let me know that you want to receive notifications. To sign up for the replatforming campaign, that is, but this is the plan. And if we can do it, we're going to. We're preparing to launch the public beta of Social Galactic 2.0. And what we're going to do is we're going to give free bronze subscriptions to all unauthorized subscribers. We're also going to give them to Castelia Deluxe subscribers. And all of those who are Feed the Bear subscription subscribers will get a special bear logo, whatever you want to call it, a special bear badge in the place of the bronze subscription. All of the other unauthorized subscribers will get a special unauthorized logo. And the Castelia Deluxe subscribers and Castelia Library, of course, are going to allow any pictures. Silver membership. So, but we'll see. The shirts, if you're talking about the $50 shirt, you're talking about the tour shirt. Those are going out, I believe, next week. We were going to try to get them out this week, and then we realized it was Thanksgiving. But they'll definitely be going out. You'll be getting them before Christmas. Can I watch unauthorized on an Android phone? We're waiting for the approval of the app. No, people who have bought 10 of my books are not getting anything because we don't have any way of tracking that. I don't have a spell book. That was a Bible that I had sitting on the table. I needed to move it. I have no idea what specific detail was missed. So if something got lost, go ahead and ask the question. No, when they asked about Android, they're talking about an Android specific app. We're waiting for the approval on the Roku and the Android. How do you let go of an addicted live-in girlfriend? You break up with her just like anybody else. Yeah, we're working on the alt hero figures. We finally found a manufacturer for them that we think it'll work. Yeah, we will have a clean speech policy. The whole reason that we're doing the free, anybody can use Social Galactic, and they can sign up and get free accounts and all that sort of thing, but they can't post links and they can't post pictures. And so, oh, what was lost? The end of it's not Castelia House. Those who are subscribed are Castelia Deluxe or Castelia Library subscribers are also going to get a free bronze subscription. The bronze has some basic picture posting. I don't know if it has link posting or not. I have to see that. And then it also has a slightly longer word length. Each level, free, bronze, silver, gold, has longer text links. We already talked about how to always be right. Don't hop in halfway through and expect that we're going to revisit things. Turkey Bear says, I just moved to Italy and now understand why you're called the Dark Lord. It's late. Yeah, just go ahead and Sir Hamster, just go ahead and nuke Big Brain Nigga. He just wants to cause trouble. Are you planning on getting into war games with models like Warhammer? Not at the moment, but considering that we're currently working on a movie and doing comics and leather-bound books, who knows what we're going to be doing next? Original members of Social Galactic 1.0 get something? No. Um, I mean, unless you are one of the people who has a subscription, then of course you'll get that. How do we get Castalia Kindle books? Go to Amazon. Oh, I usually listen. Can you make a habit of saying the link when you post it? Um, I usually just describe it. I mean, just Google it. Um, yeah. Oh, and I should. Well, speaking of links, why are you trying to facilitate a hug box, Vox? Why don't you simply ignore the trolls? Because I want to get rid of them. That's how quality discourse is maintained. It's bizarre that people talk about the. It's bizarre what people talk about. Um, they talk about these things as if it's theoretical, but we've all seen what happens don't um, if you don't moderate, if you don't get rid of the trolls, you know. And so it's not a hug box to refuse to submit to trolling. It's not a hug box. This is what people do in order to very transparently try to shame you into not banning them. It's just ridiculous. And so it's very easy to um, why are there so many trolls that come into this chat? Oh, because we occasionally upset gamma hives. It's not a big deal. It happens from time to time. Same thing every time. And then and after enough of them get banned, then they just move on to the next target and look for a softer one. It's not a big deal. Castalia will be publishing a version of Meditations. It'll probably be the second Castalia Deluxe book, which, by the way, you guys are crushing on that. And, oh, that's not the link. Where's the link? Let's see. Okay, there we are. Yeah, so there's one more day now to subscribe without the sign up fee. Yeah. And Owen knows better than anyone that you need to weed the garden regularly. You don't weed the garden, it gets overgrown. And so, um, one no, you can't parlay your subscription into a higher level Galatian. Um, and we're not going to use Owen's goats either. We were informed that would be a that would not be a welcome approach. So, but let's get back to briefly to the subject of the main thing is that if you want to always be right, learn to be circumspect about the positions that you take. It's fine to guess. It's fine to hypothesize. But you need to be careful about making it clear that you are engaging in a thought experiment, that you are considering a possibility, and so forth. Where you get yourself in trouble is when you throw something out there that you don't actually know. Someone calls in on it, and instead of backing down and admitting that you don't know, you immediately try to defend yourself. Poison Squid puts it more succinctly: don't take an indefensible position. You just can't. Choose your battles. All right, this guy is just a... Yep. We're just going to nuke him. Oh, he's already nuked. Sir Hamster is an excellent moderator. He beats me to it. So anyhow, learn to choose your battles wisely. Learn not to try to bluff people. If you've only heard of something, if somebody says, do you know what X is? And you've heard of it, then you don't say, yes, I know it. No, you don't. You've heard of it. It's not something that you know. It's not something that you've mastered. Don't do that. There's no shame in having heard of something but not having read it. There's no shame in being vaguely familiar with something but not having mastered it. Most people haven't. So be patient. Don't bluff. Nobody's going to be impressed. Here's the big thing. Nobody is impressed by the knowledge of certain facts. They're just not. Fundamental Bear, congratulations, just got his Feed the Bear subscription. It's fine to want people to think well of you. There's nothing wrong with that. But earn it. Always earn it. Here's a good question. Why is it better to say Jesus Christ instead of Christ? Because Christ is a title. Jesus Christ, specifically Jesus Christ of Nazareth, is the identifiable individual. When they talk about antichrists and false Christs, that's why just referring to Christ, that is a semantic game that non-Christians and worse will play to get you to think that they are talking about Jesus Christ, but they're not. Welcome, Illuminati Destroyer Bear. Yeah, and nobody is impressed with paraphrasing Wikipedia. Precisely. One of my favorite dismissals is your level of knowledge does not even rise to the level of Wikipedia. That's what you should be embarrassed about. When you are pretending knowledge and it doesn't even reach the level of Wikipedia. Yeah, see here we have here we have another midwit. These are wonderful word salads you speak. I'm mesmerized. There's nothing word salad about what I'm saying. Everything that I'm saying makes sense. This isn't any sort of Jordan Peterson mirrored reflecting of your own opinion to try to convince you that I'm some sort of father figure. The globalists actually go out of their way to not say Merry Christmas now. They do. Can Wikipedia be sued for libel? Not very successfully. And you're banned. Oh, I was already beaten to it. It's very simple. If you don't want to be banned, if you want to criticize, go ahead. Criticize the ideas. Criticize the logic. Criticize the argument. But don't engage in pointless ad hominem. It, it's it's not it's not relevant. Either the ideas are correct or not. Dan says most people seem more interested in being correct than actually learning anything. They're not even interested in being correct. They don't care about being correct. If they cared about being correct, they would do the work to actually be correct. They are more interested in being seen as correct, which is, a fundamentally weak position to be in. What do you care if people think you're correct or not for? Either you're correct or not. So, all right, let's do some super chats here, and then I'm going to let you go. So, M. Bolster does his thing. Thank you. Always good to see that he's here. How does narcissism interact with the sociosexual hierarchy? I think that gammas tend to be the most narcissistic. You can't be a true narcissist and be an alpha because an alpha's responsibility for the group precludes that. Bravo, you can't be a narcissist because your main focus is the alpha and your secondary focus is the group. Bravos are probably the least narcissistic out of everybody. Deltas, again, narcissism doesn't really work for them. They do tend to be focused on whatever their responsibility is, but that's not themselves. So in men, because since we're talking about SSH, we're talking about men, the two primary narcissists, and this is why they occasionally get confused, I think, are sigmas and gammas. Is it impossible for a sociopath to be a gamma? That's an interesting question. I would say no, but I don't know that I could tell you why at the moment. Yeah, we knew Social Observer was looking for trouble in the first place because he was referring to the Bible as a book of spells. How do you identify gammas in car traffic? I have no idea. No idea. Where do I sign up for the replatforming campaign? That's Patreon/Castalia. The book for December is going to be Quantum Mortis, A Man Disrupted. Bear Zerker sends $2. Thank you. I usually listen. Can you start saying links, please? I'm probably not going to do that. Just sorry. I mean, I'll try to at least refer to it, but I'm not going to do http:// It's not going to happen. Sam Perchansky says, what does it mean if one tests higher on the progressive matrices alone than on the full battery? I have absolutely no idea. I don't even know what progressive matrices are, especially with a capital P and capital M. I was listening to one of the last Darkstream. You were talking about gaming and made me curious about your opinion on Counter-Strike. Not a fan. I mean, it's a variant of the run around like a chicken with your head cut off for the most part. My son does play a lot of it. He likes it. I watch unauthorized on my Android phone. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely watch unauthorized on your Android device. But I think when people are talking about Android and unauthorized, he's being sarcastic about gammas. That's my conclusion. Where will New York City end up when USA balkanizes? I think that it is going to be a smoking crater, would be my guess. Um, that's one of the primary headquarters of evil in the United States. Um, whether it's going to be more of an escape from New York situation, or um, or worse, I don't know. But if you look at uh, just the sheer number of people living in a space where they can't possibly support themselves, um, I can't imagine that things are going to be terribly pleasant there if things get sporty. All right. Well, that should cover it tonight. So thank you all for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you at the next Darkstream. And we will probably see you at some point tomorrow. I'm Vox Day. This is the Darkstream.